The drift pod came in at 0340, station time. No transponder, no beacon. Just mass and trajectory, flagged by the proximity sensor, the same way it flagged every other piece of debris that wandered into Karath 7's salvage field. Without ceremony. On a screen I had to squint at, because the backlight had been dimming for 11 months, and the requisition for a replacement panel had been sitting in a corridor authority inbox for 9. I logged it. Inert debris, mass 34 kg, drift origin uncharted. Pulled on my field jacket. Went out to retrieve it. That is what you do at Karath 7. You retrieve things, you log them. You maintain the relay beacon so the corridor route stays certified, and the freighters keep running on schedule 200,000 kilometers away, never knowing the beacon exists. Nobody comes, nobody stops. The posting exists because solar array relay stations require a human signature on certification cycles by treaty law, and I was the human who signed. 14 years. I was not bitter about it. I had chosen it the second time, which is the only time that counts. The pod was from an older generation of emergency drift systems. Double-sealed, pressure-stable, rated for 6 months of dormancy support. The exterior decals were scoured off, except for a partial manufacturer stamp and a customs clearance notation from Vareth Station, 3 relay hops inward. The seal integrity was green. I stood with it in the airlock and looked at that green seal for a while. Then I opened it. She was small, mint green skin, silver hair matted flat against her skull, pointed ears folded like a sleeping animal's. A Soren child, young enough that her species markings had not fully expressed along her jaw. Alive, barely, 4 breaths a minute by my count. In her left palm, scratched into the skin with something narrow and sharp, was a series of marks in Old Soren script. I did not read Old Soren, but I had a translation matrix in the station's archive, and I used it, because deliberate marks from a parent who sealed their child into a drift pod and launched her into an uncharted salvage field generally mean something a person should know. Soren resettlement contact, Oresia Ven, Karath relay corridor, outer arm. Find her. Give her this. Someone had aimed a child at the outermost edge of the surveyed route. Where no one should have been. Where I was. I put the child on the second bunk, the one I had never used. Spent the next 2 hours locating a Soren resettlement coordinator in the outer arm. Filed a corridor transit biological discovery report at 0611. Filed a station keeper's emergency biological custody declaration at 0614. Corridor transit code, section 7, station class provision. Any registered beacon keeper who discovers a living minor in an unaccompanied salvage condition may declare temporary protective custody, pending resettlement contact, for a period not to exceed 90 days. At 0740, the Varath Procurement Syndicate sent me a priority channel ping. The other thing, unofficially, was a word I chose not to say out loud yet, because I had not decided how angry I was going to let myself be, and naming it would decide that for me. Their auditor told me a misrouted biological unit was on their manifest. Non-sapient classification. An audit skiff was en route to collect it. I told him the child was sapient, established by the old Sorin resettlement notation scratched into her own palm, and that I had filed a discovery report with the Corridor Transit Authority, which meant no commercial writ could be executed against a living biological entity under active authority review. There was a pause. He told me the skiff would arrive in 11 hours, and I should have the unit prepared for transfer. I told him I had a solar array certification cycle to complete before I could authorize any docking approach, and that the cycle took however long the cycle took. I closed the channel. The child woke at 1300, surfacing through layers, the way you wake after something long and terrible. She looked at the ceiling, and then she looked at me. I was sitting in the work chair 3 meters away. I had not moved closer, because I had thought about what it would mean to wake up in an unknown place and find a large human standing over you. She looked at me for a long time without speaking. I heated grain mash from emergency rations, set the bowl on the crate beside her bunk, sat back down. She ate it. I had 14 years of maintenance logs demonstrating exactly that procedure. When the syndicate auditor pinged me at 1800, at 2200, and again at 0430 demanding expedited clearance, I cited those logs each time, calmly, and told him the cycle would complete when it completed. By the third day the child had told me her name, Orev. By the fifth day she had found the translation archive and was working through old Sorin texts with the focused patience of someone practicing a language they had nearly lost. She did not explain why. I did not ask. The syndicate audit skiff docked on day 9. I met the auditor in the airlock with the custody declaration printout, the discovery report reference number, the authority review confirmation, and 14 months of prior certification logs showing my standard observation windows, none of which I had falsified, and none of which I needed to. He was a heavy-set man who had expected this to be easier. He looked past me at the station interior. Orev was in the bunk room with the partition closed, reading. "You're a long way out to get stubborn," the auditor said. 14 years, I said. "I've had time to practice." He left. She sat with Orev for 2 hours in the bunk room with the partition closed. I stayed at the terminal and did not listen, because it was not mine to listen to. When the partition opened, Orev's eyes were red at the edges, but her chin was level. She walked to where I was sitting, held out the old Sorin transit disc she had found in the pod, a flat alloy circle, stamped with a receiving contact code. She had been carrying it since she woke. She put it in my hand. "You should keep that," I said. She closed my fingers around it. Then she went to collect her things, which were 3 objects she had accumulated in 21 days. A worn corner of the grain mash container, the translation archive stylus, and a fragment of pod insulation foam she had shaped, over several patient days, into something approximating a bird with folded wings. She put all 3 in the pocket of the thermal liner I had given her. Then I went in and filed the custody declaration closeout and logged the foam bird's shape in the station record under notes, because I was a thorough man, and it had happened here, and things that happen here belong in the log. I stayed at Karath 7 for 11 more years. The backlight panel was eventually replaced, 3 years in, by a technician who seemed surprised to find the station so well maintained. I did not tell her it was because I had nothing else to do, which would have been partly true. I did not tell her the other part. Orev Ven came back in the 23rd year of my posting, and the 2nd year after my death. She was a Sorin resettlement coordinator by then. She came alone, in a small survey skiff, in the way a person comes to a place when they are not ready to find it in company. She opened the station log and read it. All of it, I am told. Then she added one entry at the end, under the standard maintenance header. Karath 7 Relay Station, year 23 of posting. Keeper, Orphan Bast. 14 years certified service. Outer arm corridor. No violations. No complaints filed. No commendations received. Custody declaration filed day 1. Executed properly. Maintenance record. Exceptional. He gave me the bowl first. He sat back down. She checked the solar array, because it needed checking, and certified the current cycle, because someone had to, and then she left the station to the stars and the silence, which is what it had always been, and what it would go on being, long after the names in the log were the only thing left of either of us.